is that our VirtualPBX admin training. Going to give people a couple minutes to get in here. This is continuing our, I guess, daily currently trainings for Dash as we've migrated everyone off of the vConsole. You can always come back to our channel here to look at previous training streams. If you can't stay here for the entire stream here, the runtime here is roughly an hour and 15 to an hour and a half just to go over all of the features on Dash. And what you see at the top here is the Dash login page, which is just at dash.virtualpbx.com. And you need your username, which is your email address. Each user on Dash has to have a unique email address. Then you need your password and then your account name. Now, if for some reason you don't have, say, your password, you can click on the Forgot Your Info link here, towards the bottom right. You still need that email or username, and then either the account name or a phone number that's on the account, either one. You don't need both. Click on Reset Password. You'll get an email saying, hey, here, reset your password. And then once you've reset your password, the system will log you back out to basically make you use your new password. And after you do that, I would say just click on Remember Me, since we probably all have way too many passwords in our lives. All right, and then you get logged in. Now, this is an established account. I've been in here several times, so it automatically takes me here to the dashboard. If it's your first time signing into Dash, you're actually going to be taken to a different page, which I'll click up here to get to. Basically, you click on your name, and it takes you to your user portal here, or user panel. I guess it's probably a better way of saying that. Now, in addition, on your first time logging in, the Dash wizard pops up, and it just gives you highlights about different things. The main things people tend to change here is their time zone. Now, they can also change their password and their email address if they're so inclined. As an admin, you also have the account level settings. And again, the main thing people change is the time zone to make sure it matches with, say, their corporate headquarters. Now, on a live account, i.e. this is a test account, but on a live account, you also have admins have a second section down here that deals with their billing information, right? So you can update your credit card here. You can see your service plan. You should be able to download your invoices as well. Once you're done in here, you just click on Close over here on the top right, and it will take you back to your dashboard. Now, along the top, again, click on your name. That gets you to that account information or user information. There's a D&D toggle, which you can make yourself on Do Not Disturb. And then over here, you have the question mark icon, and this takes you to a couple of different options. First one here, chat with us. This will open up a chat window so you can talk to support so they can walk you through a particular feature that you're working with. You have the Learn More. This will take you to the support pages, so then you can look at the various guides and videos that we have there. You've got the online store. Takes you to store.virtualpbx.com, where you can buy flip phones, the desktop app, as well as headsets or routers. And then you have the web phone link. Now, the web phone link only shows up once you've added a web phone to your user. And the web phone just opens up a new tab, webphone.virtualpbx.net. And that allows you to use Chrome or Firefox to make and receive calls, typically on a computer. Then we've got the hamburger or menu icon, right? 3 horizontal lines. This gets you to the various additional features of Dash or just admin-specific features of Dash. And then you have the logout icon. On the left here, we've got the core features of Dash, and then your dashboard itself. So in the middle here, we've got users. These are all the people on your account who are making and receiving calls. And then we got the total number of devices and a breakdown of those devices, right? Cell phone, pretty self-explanatory. Web phone, which I just talked about. Soft phone, this is a software application that uses your internet connection to make and receive calls. So the web phone is technically a type of soft phone, but this is for like our soft phone app that you could use on your cell phone or any other soft phone app that you can get out there on the internet. A SIP phone is a kind of VoIP phone. This is a physical device that sits on someone's desk, most likely, or at least near the router with cordless handsets. There are other types of VoIP phones on the market. So if you're walking through electronics or computer store, looking at VoIP phones, just make sure it says SIP compliant or SIP compatible, and then you at least have a chance that it will work with us. And then landline, pretty self-explanatory. Now down here, I have it where it says unregistered devices, and I have 23 of them. That's typically for my VoIP devices, and the system knows when the VoIP devices are connected, and it's telling me, hey, you got 23 that I can't send calls to, or can we get calls back from? Now, that can be something as simple as someone didn't turn their phone on or didn't plug in the power, right? It could be something complicated, like there's a router setting problem. It could be that they're having an internet issue, right? Like their ISP is having a problem in their neighborhood. Total phone numbers, 46. Now on your accounts, generally speaking, on new accounts, you have anywhere from 1 to 15 phone numbers included as part of your plan price. If you're a migrated customer, you're grandfathered in on your existing plan, so that will vary. If you're over your plan allotment, then the standard pricing, I believe, is either anywhere from $199 to $499 per month per phone number over your allotment. Right. So if my allotment was 15, then I'm paying extra for looks like 31 of these phone numbers. It's a pretty actually bill there. All right. Now down below that, we've got the breakdowns. So I have assigned numbers and spare numbers. An assigned number means I'm using that number, right? It goes someplace on my account, right? It goes to my salesperson, Bob, or it goes to my billing ring group, or my tech support queue, or it's a fax box number, that sort of thing, right? It goes someplace. Spare number, it's on my account. It's just not going anywhere right now. Like, let's say I just had a Thanksgiving promotion that just ended. I can unassign that number, put it in my spare number list, so that way I'm not getting calls about a promotion that's no longer valid, right? Or another common thing is, you were able to get a block of numbers in sequence, and you just haven't gotten to the later numbers of that sequence, and you're saving them for later growth. All right, down here, we've got a breakdown between USDID and US toll-free, right? Toll-free, 800 number, all the way, 877, 833, etc. USDID, that's just a US local number, right? So a number, say, in, El Cerritos, California, versus, say, Dallas, Texas, right? Or, New York City, what have you. Conference bridges. Oh, sorry, one other thing. You can have international numbers on Dash. If you're interested in that, you want to email porting, so PORTING at virtualpbx.com. They'll need to know the city and country that you're interested in, and they will let you know if there's additional requirements. Like Germany, for example, requires proof of presence within that city. Currently, the UK doesn't have any additional requirements, so we just tell you if there's one available, and we assign it to you, the account. So it varies from country to country. All right, conference bridges. This is just saying you have 6 users who can host a conference. Now, in order for a user to be able to host a conference, you first have to assign a conference number. Now, over here, main numbers. So these are your general numbers that your customers call. These numbers all behave the same way, right? So they'll come in, they'll route to the same location. Then often it's to the virtual receptionist, where they'll have the same main greeting play. Conference numbers. You can have multiple conference numbers. Once you have a conference number assigned, you can then enable conferencing on individual users. The fax box number, you can only have one, but once you do, you've basically enabled the faxing capabilities on your account. This number is to receive faxes on. And it also enables, by enabling faxing, it also enables email to faxing out, right? Basically, to fax out, you create an email. In the to field, you put the plus sign, number 1, area code and phone number, i.e. where you're faxing to, the @ symbol, and then you use this thing here, your account realm, after the @ symbol, and then you would simply attach a PDF or a TIFF file to your email, and you click send. There's no point in typing in the body of that email because the only thing that gets faxed out is the attachment, and the system only sends out or faxes out one attachment per email. So obviously, if you have a signature file that your email client attaches, you want to remove that, so that way only your fax gets sent out. All right, the company directory, this is a text file. Download it. It shows all the users and their extension numbers. The soft phone directory, this is a download file. This is for use with our desktop soft phone application. You then upload it to the desktop app, and it will show basically presence for all of your other users who have the desktop soft phone app, right? You'll see if they're on a call or if they're available, at least on that device. And it also allows you to call your coworkers quickly, right? You just click on them and you can give them a call. The desktop, the store discount code, for being a Dash customer, you get a discount on our web store. And then the account realm, which I just talked about for faxing, it's also used for programming a third-party application. We'll get into that a little bit later. Over here, we've got caller ID. Now, on this streaming software, unfortunately, it doesn't always work with the pull downs. So I can only show you the one number. And then down here, we've got the company caller ID name. Industry-wise, it's referred to as CNAME or CNOM. Right. You can enter in up to 15 characters, including spaces and special characters. And then this is what will show up in addition to your caller ID on your outbound calls from your VoIP devices. Now, a couple things to keep in mind about the CNAME. Not every carrier supports CNAME. So if your outbound call happens to route through one of those carriers, your CNAME information is not going to display at the destination. Even for the carriers who do support it, it's not a high priority. It's a distant third, right? First priority being connect the call, and then the caller ID, and then the CNAME. And even for them, right, if they have heavier than expected call volume, that means they drop the CNAME information to make sure calls go through. Obviously, if they're having an outage or service or maintenance issue, again, they're more concerned about calls being able to connect. All right, down below, we've got the company emergency information, or the E911, and you just put in your address that you have associated with this phone number. That's why this is a Las Vegas address, because 702 number. And then you click on Save Changes. Now, that company emergency information, that would be the default information that gets sent to 911 if someone picks up the VoIP phone, calls 911, right? So you want to make sure that address information is accurate for each phone number. Next up, we've got the hold music. Now, on Dash, hold music is defined as after a call has connected to one of your users, and then they've pressed hold on their VoIP phone. Right, so up until then, your inbound caller is probably just hearing ringing. Now, Dash, you can upload your own files. And you click on Upload, you click on Browse, and then you would click on the little blue and white up arrow here. Dash will play back .wav, .wav, and .mp3 files. You want to record in mono, not in stereo, and you want to keep the file under 1 megabyte. You might be able to get a file over 1 megabyte to upload successfully. It's just not been consistent, and that's something our engineers will be looking into. But if you make any changes, then you click on Save Changes. And then the hours, that's actually part of main number. So let's just go to main number and start at the top there. All right, So up here at the top, we've got our main company numbers. Again, these numbers all behave the same way. Now, if for some reason I decide, oh, I don't want to use one of these numbers, let's say I don't like this 669 number anymore, or I want to use it for something else, I can click unassign, and now it's no longer a main number. It's still on my account, right? It goes under, becomes a spare number at this point, but now I can assign it anywhere else that I need to. Now, if you've just signed up, you don't have any numbers, for example, you chose not to take any during the sign-up process, then you could do by number, and you got your option of local and toll-free. Right, toll-free, you just take your favorite toll-free prefix, you click search, and you click add. It adds it to your cart. You can add multiple numbers at once, and then you can click by numbers. All right, for a local, you just need to enter in an area code that you're interested in. Now, every now and then, like you can do a search for an area code, and you'll get this message. Sorry, there's not anything available. Now, at that instance, you'd want to double check, i.e. Google, to see if there's an overlay for that particular area code. But when you see that message, then you can double check with our porting team, right? Porting at VirtualPBX.com, just to see if there was an error in our database, and they'll double check. But if they come back saying, hey, there's nothing available, then we're not going to be able to get a number for that area code any quickly. Now, if there's an overlay, then you can check that. Now, like, let's say 310, that's one of the original LA area codes. See, there's no results there. Let's check. I believe 323 is an overlay for LA, or at least one of them. And then see, I do have options here. You click add. It's on my cart. We'll just complete the process here so you see what it looks like. Basically, this is just verifying the number that yes, was still available. Now it's putting it on my account, and it's ready to go as a main number. Now, over here, we got a little gear icon next to your numbers. Caller ID. You can set up the outbound caller ID name and the CNAME information. All right, E911. All right, you can put the specific address associated with that phone number. Prepend is a VoIP feature, so you can add additional text in front of the caller ID that shows up on your VoIP phones. Right, this gives your staff a heads up about what the call might be about. Right, so like this is the LA promotion or whatever. All right, office hour strategy. For new signups, you start off at 24-hour open office. Most customers choose custom office hours. If you were a customer who was moved from the vConsole to Dash, the upgrade team would have matched your day-night mode settings here. For any day of the week that you're open, you put a check mark, and then you enter in your open hours in these boxes to the right from the pull downs, and this is in 24-hour or military time. You also have this option down here where you can say you're closed for lunch, and then enter your lunch hours there. Office holidays, if you're closed for holidays, you put a check mark here. And then over to the right, this is your option to add holidays. Right, so you got single day, date range, and advanced. Each one of those would make a new row. So like single day for President's Day here. And then you would choose the month and then the specific date. And then click Save Changes. Date range, like we have up here for Christmas time. Again, you give it a name. Here's the start date. So start in December, go to December 23rd. And then the end date, December, and then 26th. Normally on the pull downs, you can actually change it to be longer if you wanted to. The main caveat for date range is for New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. You notice there's no year indicator here. So for New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, you just want to do a single day for each one of those, and then continue on from there as necessary. And then advanced, this is the retreat here is the advanced option, right? I'm saying, hey, the first Friday in July, we're on holiday, right? The company picnic day, right? Again, you just select the month. You've got the options like the first, second, third, fourth, as well as last, and then the day of the week. And then any changes, you would click on Save Changes. All right, now we're going to the big kahuna, the incoming call handling, right? So we're still under main numbers. So for all of my main numbers during my open hours, this is how I'm going to have my calls route. Likewise, I have a tab for after hours as well as for holidays, right? And you have these options here. So during my open hours calls, I'm having to go to my virtual receptionist. This is a link, so we can open that up by clicking on it. There we go. On the left here, my main menu, right? This is what people press on their phone to navigate through my phone system. This is on top of extension numbers. And then over here on the right are my greeting options. And then we have some settings down here. So first main menu, if you need to add a route, you just click add route. Unfortunately, my pull downs aren't working, but you can select basically 0 through 9 as well as this default route and then where you want it to go. In terms of your options here, you can send it to a specific person, right? One of your users. You can send it to a call queue. You can send it to a specific phone, like the cell phone, for example. I can scroll down a little bit further. I can send it to a media file, basically a greeting that will play. But once the greeting ends, the call by default will end. A way around that would be to make use of submenus, which you can do now on Dash. You can send it to a specific ring group, right? So one of your departments. The advanced call flows, these are actually auto attendants. So this is how you would make use of submenuing, right? So if I choose, say, this Vegas base one here, what I'm saying is when someone presses that, the default route, right? So they don't press anything, it goes to this other auto attendant where they would hear a second greeting play, and then they would have a second set of menu options to make use of. And then you can also send callers directly to a voicemail box. And then you have these little icons in front to let you know. Over here on the right, the greeting options, text-to-speech, you just type in a greeting, you click update, you would click on save, and then save changes over on the incoming call handling. It's the computerized or robotic voice. You can upload your own file, again, .wav, .mp3, recorded in mono under 1 megabyte. You can choose from existing recording. Again, this is a pull down, but anything you already have on the account, you can choose from. You can record it over the phone. So by default, recording over the phone, it says a registered phone, right? That means the system wants you to use a VoIP phone on the account. You would call into the main number. You would enter this PIN number. Now, this PIN number is specific to this time of day. So it's only in effect during my open hours. Right? For this PIN number, that means I can only change my open hours greeting during my open hours. Likewise, for after hours, I can only change it during after hours because that's when that PIN is in place. Now, if you want to use a cell phone or landline, that's actually controlled right here at the bottom under the settings. If you have allow outside recording, you've turned this on, click on save, obviously, then I can call in with a cell phone or landline and still enter in this PIN number during my open hours and record it over the phone. This is by default off, just as a security measure. One thing to keep in mind about recording over the phone, if you already have a greeting in place, right? So you have greeting A is playing right now. And you're like, oh, I need to change the greeting. If you call in, right, enter this PIN number, you record it, right, the greeting A starts playing, you enter in the PIN number, the system says, oh, you want to change the recording. It walks you through how to record it. Now, the content of greeting A will be changed, right? You're overwriting it, right? The file name stays the same, but the content just changed because you're recording it over the phone, right? If you don't have a greeting selected, right, you just signed up, for example, then it's not a concern. But if you have a greeting in place, it will overwrite. So just be aware of that. Professional recording services, when you click order, you'll be taken to a separate website hosted by Snap Recordings. They have 80 to 100 voice actors and actresses to choose from. You've got various versions of English, French, and Spanish, so you can do multilingual greetings. They have other packages or deals for like hold treatment, which is music file and a script read, etc. They handle their own billing, right, and they deliver to you via email. You can specify if you want it in a .wav or .mp3, and then you would just upload the file from up here. All right, settings. Okay, number of retries on this dial. Normally you want this at 1 or 2, but basically what you're saying is if someone hits an invalid option, so let's say 5, right? So they hit 5, okay, the system will replay the greeting again, right? Giving them hopefully the menu options. They press 5 again, right? So a second mistry or misdial, then the system will go to the default route. In this case, like you leave a voicemail. Now, the dialing timeout, this typically should be a full integer, so like 1 or 2, maybe 3, right? So this is the number of seconds the system waits after it hears a button press before it assumes that that person is done, right? So they enter in 801, it waits 1, 2, or 3 seconds, and then it says, oh, okay, they're done, and then sends it to that extension or this menu option that they press. Now, having a default route and then this with the misdials, I don't typically recommend having a default route these days just because robodialers are such a problem. Because basically, robodialer comes in, it listens to the greeting a couple of times, right? It doesn't actually enter in a menu option, but eventually the system says, hey, you're not doing anything. Replays the greeting. Oh, you're still not doing anything. I'm going to send you to the default route, right? So then I get a junk voicemail, not this voicemail box, right? It's like some random music file being played or some foreign, someone speaking in a foreign language, or that Nigerian prince offering me millions of dollars if I just send him 20K or whatever it is these days. So normally I say just get rid of the default route. And then any changes you hear, you go ahead and just click on Save Changes, and then you click on Save, or Save and then Save Changes, excuse me. All right, so this other next routing option, right, call comes in, I'm offering it to Bob. If Bob's not able to answer, it goes to that same virtual receptionist. I'll just bring it up real quick, see, no default route, etc. Now, this menu, again, I can send it to any specific user. I can send it to a ring group. I can send it to a queue. I technically can go to a specific device as well as a specific media file. I don't usually recommend the media file just because then you have most likely someone's going to get 2 greetings back to back, and that might be confusing for your inbound caller. And then you also have the option to send it to your group. Right. So basically the option here is you're giving staff member or members a chance to answer the call first. If they're not if they're not able to, right, because they're busy, then the inbound caller gets to your virtual receptionist where they can enter in a menu option or an extension number. All right, option 3, call goes in. Again, I'm offering it to a user in this case, but I can offer it to a group, a device, a queue, media file, and then, but typically it's to a user or group or queue. They're not able to pick up, then send the call to voicemail. This has one additional option, which is way down here at the bottom, right? Skip the voicemail. So in this particular case, I usually see this with customers like for holidays, right? They're just saying, hey, call comes in, I'm sending it to voicemail, right? Hey, we're closed, right? You can say that in your voicemail greeting. The advanced call flows doesn't really come up very often. It only really shows up when you have multiple auto attendants. So your after hours, you have these same options. Just bear in mind that your virtual receptionist is separate, right? It's completely different than my daytime options or my open hours options. Again, because you're most likely going to have different greeting for after hours, and you might have different staff, right? So, oh, this is my after hours support group versus my daytime support group, or my emergency support is for after hours, etc. And again, holidays, you got the same options. In this case, I'm sending it to Bob and then Bob's voicemail. But that virtual receptionist, again, is its own thing. So you can set it up however you want it. Right? If I had said I was closed for lunch, right, if I had been able to save changes there, there'd be another tab for lunch hours here as well. All right, main conference number. You can add from spare numbers. Right, so I have all these to choose from. Or I can buy a new one because I want to use a new specific number or area code. You have a custom greeting here. This is simply a text-to-speech greeting, basically just saying, hey, thank you for calling ABC Cleaners conference room. Even if you don't have anything here or you have it disabled, then the system would still come on and say, please enter the conference room number, and then it would ask you for the PIN number to join the conference. That also holds true for your staff members, right? Your staff members would still call this number and enter in the conference room number and then the appropriate PIN number. Fax box, right? You would have add from spare or buy new, and you can have the one number here. Now, on this account, unfortunately, the fax box is broken because again, it's a test account. But on your accounts, if you click Edit Fax Box, you'll get a pop-up with two fields. The first field is for the incoming notification, right? So you put an email address there. So whenever a fax comes through to your number, that email address gets an email saying, hey, you have a fax, and there's an attachment, right? You just click on the PDF attachment, and you see the fax. The second field is for the outbound permissions. You can put in a specific email address, so that one email address can fax out. Or if you own your own company domain, you can put your domain in that second field, and then anyone at your company who has an email address can then email out. They don't have to be, or email to fax out. They don't have to be a user on the Dash account, right? They just have to have the company domain email. All right, auto attendants. So you can add additional auto attendants. The reason you would do this is if you're going to make use of submenus, right? So you want someone to press a menu option, they get a second greeting and a second set of options. So for instance, on your main number, you tell people for English, press 1, for Spanish, press 2, right? Then you would create, or would have already had to have created auto attendants for English and then for Spanish, right? And then you would have an English greeting and then a Spanish greeting play. And then they would have their own menu options. So to create an attendant, you give it a name and an extension number. The extension number is your staff can actually transfer calls to other auto attendants, like they got to the wrong company, or the wrong, like they hit Spanish instead of English. Like, let me transfer you to the Spanish group, right? And then you would click on Create Attendant. Now, if you click on a name for the attendant, so by default, it shows up like this, unavailable in main menu. That means its own standalone attendant, meaning like this attendant is a separate company, for example, right? So it has its own phone number, it has its separate greeting. I don't want this to be a menu option on my main line, right? But if I want it to be a submenu, then I would say make it available. You also have the option to delete it. Phone numbers, you can add any of your spare numbers, or you can buy a new number, right? And so if people call on these phone numbers, they're going directly to these particular attendants. You click on extension number, you can add extensions or change the extension. And then you got the little wrench icon. If you click on this, all right, so you still have the open hours and after hours and holidays, right? So it's following the settings under your main number, right? Incoming call handling. It's going to follow the same hours of operation. But then you only have the option of it going to the virtual receptionist. And again, same options, right? You click add route to add additional routes. You've got the same greeting options in the settings. So yeah, the auto attendants are either via separate businesses, so they have their own greetings, they have their own menu options, or you're going to use it to create submenus off of your main menu. Those are the two primary reasons why you would have multiple attendants. Next up, we've got devices. You can add a device up here. So you got SIP phone. Again, this is that physical phone. You can choose one of these manufacturers. You would click on, say, Cisco, for example, and you select the model. You enter the device name, right? Bob's phone, right? And then the MAC address. The MAC address is specific to each phone. Usually a sticker on the back. If you click, usually under the menu and status, if you click on that, you should be able to get to the MAC address as well. And then you click on Create Device, and then you would assign it to one of your staff members. Now, in terms of the dashboard here, you're done. On the phone, you need to go into the phone's web user interface. It means usually you get the IP address of the device. That's under the menu status typically. And then you enter that address into your browser and you log in, usually like admin or something like that. The phone manual will have that information. There usually is an auto provisioning section, and you need to enter in a URL, basically telling the phone, hey, go here. Phone would go here and get its configuration file, and then reboot a few times, and then it would show up as a green device here. Now, for the specifics, like that specific URL, as well as showing screenshots, we have a guide on our website under the support pages. Under VoIP phones, it's called Auto Provisioning Phones, and then it's got a breakdown for at least Cisco, Polycom, and Yealink. I'd have to double check on the others. I guess I should point out here on the phone device page here, green means it's connected, right? So we can send a call to it. Red means it's not registered / not connected, meaning we can't send or receive calls. And black means, hey, you've turned it off, right? You've disabled it. All right, cell phone and landline are the same in terms of what you do, right? You give it a name, you put the phone number for that device, but +, number 1, area code and phone number, and then you assign it to a person, and then you click Create Device. Now, when Dash offers a call to a cell phone or a landline, by default, what happens is, right, the phone's going to ring, you're going to pick up, you're going to hear an automated message saying, this is a forwarded call, please press 1. By pressing 1, you're telling the system, yes, you're there, and yes, you want to take the call. If you're a vConsole customer, this is like pressing pound to accept the call. Now, in some cases, that's not what you want, right? Like say you're actually sending calls to an automated answering service. Well, an automated answering service, right, doesn't have fingers, you can't press 1. And so in that case, you want to put a check mark here in front of allow use of cell phone voicemail or landline voicemail. So now we offer the call, we hear that pickup tone, we connect the call, right? There's no need to press 1. Now, if this was actually going to a cell phone, that means if your cell phone voicemail picks up, right, we still hear a pickup tone, which means we're connecting the call. That inbound caller ends up on your cell phone's voicemail. Some people want that, right? That's their preferred way of doing things. Other people don't. And then the other thing people may change is this one here. Keep original caller ID. Say, for instance, customer Mary is giving a call into the system, and it's going to your cell phone. Right? You look at your phone, it's ringing, you're like, I don't know that phone number, I'm just going to let it go to voicemail. Now, if you uncheck this option here, right? So now when customer Mary calls in, what shows up on your phone is your main company phone number, right? So you're, oh, this is a work call, I'll go ahead and take it. Now, so basically an easy way to let you know it's a work call. Now, when I say the main company number, let's go back to the dashboard real quick. What I'm referring to is whichever phone number you have selected here as your company caller ID. So if you have multiple numbers, it could be one of your other numbers that is showing up. All right, next up, we've got soft phone. Right, little warning message saying, hey, because of wireless technology, we may not be, you're not going to be at a fixed location. So if you call 911, emergency services may be sent to a different location. So please be aware of that. And then you hit close, and now you're here on this page here. Now this is set up right now as a third-party application or device. Like for instance, you look under the SIP phones and you don't see your phone's manufacturer, you would use a third-party soft phone, or again, you're using, say, a soft phone application from Counterpath. So you would give it a device name, and to program those devices or that application, you would use a SIP username, right? Copy and paste. You click on the SIP password box, you would copy and paste the SIP password, and then you would also copy and paste this account realm, and you would use that to program that device or application. Now, we do have some guides for some of these devices and applications out there, but there are way too many. So unfortunately, we don't have guides for everything that's out there. So that's just something to keep in mind. Now, if you want to use the VirtualPBX soft phone app, right here it says use third-party application. It's grayed out. You want to click on that, and it's going to flip it and make it say use VirtualPBX application. You give it a name, and then you assign it to an owner, and then you click on create device. So then that user will get an email saying, hey, your soft phone is ready. Here's your username and password. So then if they're using it on mobile, they can just download it from the App Store, iOS or Android, and then just log in and they're ready to use the app. If you want to use the app on the desktop, right, so Mac OS or Windows, you do need to go up to the web store here and order the desktop versions, because there's a license fee involved, and then you can download. You'll get download links from our fulfillment team, and then you can log in and make and receive calls. I'm just going to skip down here to the web phone. Again, you've got that wireless warning message. And then you give it a device name and you assign it to a user, and then you click on create device. Now, the web phone uses your dash login information, so that's why you want to assign it to a particular user, right? They can then log in and they have this web phone link here. But again, you can just go to webphone.virtualpbx.net, enter in your dash login information, and then you can use Chrome and Firefox to make and receive calls. Again, this works best on a computer. I've been able to make it workable on my Android phone with Chrome. However, I've had customers not have any luck on an iOS phone with Chrome or Firefox. So just be aware of that. Next up, we've got the Greetings Manager. Shows all the greetings on your account. You can actually add a greeting directly here, right? So give it a name, find the file, click on Create Greeting. Again, .wav, .mp3, recorded in mono under 1 megabyte. Here you see the name. The source, TTS, means text-to-speech, meaning I typed it in on an auto attendant. Upload, I just uploaded a file, or recording means I recorded it over the phone. You've got an option here to download the particular greeting, so then you can listen to it and see if it's still valid. Little wrench icon here. You can change the name, or you can get rid of it because, hey, I'm not using this greeting anymore. Groups, shorthand for ring groups. You click on Add Group. You give it a name, you give it an extension, and then you click and drag your staff members who are in part of that group, right? So these are like departments, essentially. And then you click on Create Group. Once you've created a group, you can click on its name. You can always change the name, and then you have this option here for dialing repeats, and you can increase it or decrease it over here on the right. Basically, what you're saying is the person who's calling in, right, they can go through one time, in this case. If I up it, right, now I can say, oh, now they can call through 3 times. And that assumes that on the first 2 attempts, none of my staff members was able to pick up, right? If someone picks up, obviously, they don't need to come back through. Now, if you click on the members box here, you see your staff members that are assigned to that group. Up here along the top, this is the ring durations. Now, over here on the far right, this is the maximum duration of the group. You can change this, right? So you can enter 60 seconds instead of 120, which is the default. You can put it up to 600 if you wanted to. Now, in terms of the order, I can change the order, right? So I can click and drag and move people around. But you notice it would still go in this order right now, right? So Denard, then Duke, then skip down here to Hatake, and then over to Cat. Now, if I click distribute again, however, now it's going to go in that order, right? So Cat, Duke, Denard, Hatake. These are also sliders. So I could do something like this. Right, so now I'm doing what's called blast ringing. So it rings all my staff members at the same time. Obviously, once someone picks up, then everyone else's phone stops ringing. And even if you can change your mind, but you can also do something like this where people overlap a little bit. That sort of thing. But those are the only routing options you have in a group, right? Versus if you want different kinds of routing options, which I'll get into under ACD queues, but that's when you would use a queue. Now, groups, you can have an extension and a phone number, whereas on a queue, you can only have one or the other, right? So a queue, you can either give it an extension number or give it a phone number. A group can have both. Now, both groups and queues can be menu options off of your virtual receptionist or auto attendants. So this is just a direct access way, essentially. The advantage groups has over queues currently is that when we offer calls to members in a group, we don't care about the device, right? It can be a VoIP device, it could be a cell phone or a landline. On ACD queues and ACD queues Pro, currently you can only offer calls to VoIP phones, right? No option yet for cell phones or landlines. Right, over here on the right, we've got the group features. So first you got ring back. This is essentially hold music for the group, right? So basically this file will play back until one of your staff members picks up. You do want to make sure this file is as long as the ring duration of the group, right? So 200 or 120 seconds by default. But again, you can upload your own file, .wav, .mp3, recorded in mono under 1 megabyte, and then you'll click the upload button. Next action. Now, if you click enabled, it's basically say, hey, if no one answers, what am I sending? What am I doing with the call? In this case, I'm sending it to Bob's voicemail. But you can go through, you can send it back to your main menu. You can send it to a specific phone. Scroll down, you can send it to another group. You can send it to a specific user, and then a voicemail box. Allow call forward. If you enable this, you're just allowing your users to make use of call forwarding, meaning they're not going to be at their normal phone, right? You know, like they're working from home, you got them a VoIP phone, like a Yealink phone. They're like, oh, I'm going to be visiting customer sites, but I still want to be able to take my calls for the group. Then you allow call forward, and they can make use of forwarding calls to, say, their cell phone. Caller ID prepend, again, this is for your VoIP phone users. You can add additional text or numbers, or both, in front of the caller ID, and that will show up on the VoIP phone's display. And it gives your staff member or staff members a heads up about what the call may be about. All right, numbers shows the numbers on the account and where they're going. You got the little gear icon here, so you can set up the caller ID, E911, and prepend for the various numbers. If you go to spare numbers, you see here I have several spare numbers. If I don't want some of these numbers any longer, so like I don't need this toll-free or this 813 number. If I click on the checkboxes, this option here just popped up for deleting. So yes, you want to delete these numbers. Says yes, you successfully deleted them, and now they're gone from my account. So I saved a little money, right? Because I have so many phone numbers. Now you can always buy numbers here, buy local or toll free. It will add them here to your spare number list, right? So like you know you need like 20 phone numbers, but you're not sure where you're going to use them yet for, or specifically, right? You're like, I'm not sure which number is going to go to my groups or to my users, but let me just get them all here. And then as you go through, you can assign them from that spare number list. Port, this starts the porting process. All right, you give a new porting, and then you start following the on-screen instructions. So US or toll-free numbers. Well, you actually should have an option for others, because we can port in international numbers as well. But basically, you just give it a name, so you know what it's about. Click on next. Now it's going to ask you for a bill PDF. All right, so you just upload, and then you have to click on the acknowledge. Now it should be within the last 30 days. Basically, from here on out, you just follow the on-screen instructions. The main things that we need for porting is a completed and signed letter of agency, or LOA. You can find that. You can actually download a blank one through this process. You can also find it on our website under the support pages. In the LOA, it asks for company information. Right? That company information should match what your current carrier has on file. So say, for instance, you're going to port your Comcast number to VirtualPBX. Right? So whatever Comcast has on file for that phone number, that needs to be the information that's on the LOA. So if there's a company name or a person's name, right, that's what you put there. That address is associated with the phone number, and it does need to be signed. Now, it can be a digital signature, or someone can actually, print it out and sign it manually. It just cannot be typed where it asks for a signature, because that will get rejected every time. But basically, yeah, then you'll upload these documents and submit them to the system, and you'll get an email saying, hey, you successfully submitted your porting information. Now, if that gets all the way through properly, you'll get a second email by the next business day, and that's because one of our porting team members have actually looked at your documents and started the port process by, submitting it through there's a second portal we have to do. And basically letting you know, hey, we've got your documents, here's what to expect about the port process. That second email basically confirms your port is going through. Right? If you don't get that second email, contact our porting team at porting@virtualpbx.com, or you can call in and say, hey, I submitted it, but I only got the one email. We'll double check just to see if it got missed or what have you. But if we don't have it, then you can always email your LOA and your bill copy to porting@virtualpbx.com. We can still submit it if you email us, right? You don't have to go through this process. One thing to keep in mind, if you are porting a mobile number, right? So it goes, it's a number on your cell phone. Once that port completes, right, that cell phone's not going to work unless you get a replacement phone number from your carrier. The other thing about porting a mobile number is we will need what's called an account PIN that you have to get from your carrier. That's a security feature for mobile phones. So that way you never your phone doesn't suddenly stop working. You're like, what the heck just happened, right? That way oh yeah, I'm porting this number. All right. Users, this is where you add more users to your account. You would click on Add User up here at the top. You enter their name. Each user has to have a unique email address to log in. You create the password, and then you assign an extension number. Now, on this account, I started with extension 1000, so it's saying the next available extension is 1021. I can change this, right? I can say, hey, I have a new auto attendant. I'm going to put everybody associated with that auto attendant as starting with extension 5000. All right. Then you got this create a voicemail box for the user. When you have this checked, that voicemail box is intrinsically tied to that user. So say you assign a VoIP phone to that user and they have a voicemail box created for them at that same time, then from that VoIP phone the user can pick up, they can hit *98. That takes them directly into their voicemail box. And then they can set up their PIN number. They can set up their voicemail greeting, right? If you ever delete this created voicemail box for that user and then manually create a voicemail box, there's no way for you to re-enable that kind of connection. Right. You can include in the company directory or not, purely up to you by putting a check mark there. You can send emails to an alternate address. Now, this address will supersede anything that would have been sent here, right? So the email address used for login, that is used for like sending voicemails that came to this user, as well as the password recovery or the soft phone credentials, right? But if you put in send to alternate address, this address will supersede this one, right? So like if you used a fake email address for them to log in, right? support1@virtualpbx.com, not an actual valid email address, but allows one of my support people to get in. Then I can say, hey, send everything to, say, their personal email address, so that way they can get their voicemail, etc. And then I think this is the most important one, send credentials to the user, right? So when you click on create user, they'll get an email to here, or if you send the alternate, it'll go to the alternate. But basically it says, here's your login information. And if you need to create more people, you would do create user and add another. All right, if you click on a user's name, actually one thing I guess I should point out here, hold on. Right, so little gray person icon, that's your standard user. Blue suit, that means that's an admin. But if you click on their name, you can always change their name. If you click on change credentials, you can change their email address and their password. As an admin, you can also have this option right there. So let's say Bob here could never remember the passwords I create for him because we are on such different wavelengths. I can instead just say, hey, click on the little here link there. He will get an email to reset his password, so he can set it to something he will remember. And then click on Save Changes. Voicemail box PIN. Now, for your VoIP phone users, you don't have to set a PIN number for them because, again, they have that voicemail box that's tied right to them. They can hit *98. The first time they do that, the system will prompt them to create a PIN number and then to create a voicemail greeting. For your cell phone and landline users, you do need to create a PIN number for them before they can access their voicemails. Excuse me. Also, for migrated customers, there will be a PIN number already associated with their voicemail boxes. Here you have the option to make use of alternate address. And then here is to include in the company directory. Over here on the right, this is a pull down, so you can make a user an admin, or you can make an admin back into a user. This is time zone for the user, right? So if they're, people are working remote, a lot of people are working remotely nowadays, so you can set them into their proper time zone. This is the language displayed in dash, right? So English, French, German, and Russian are the options. Ringing timeout, this is how much time the system will try to ring the devices on a user, right? But the standard when you create a new user is 20 seconds. 20 seconds is plenty of time to get to most VoIP phones and landlines. It may not be enough time to get to a cell phone, right? As far as a phone system is concerned, right, routing calls to a cell phone takes longer, right? So when a call comes in and it's going to a landline, right, we offer it to the landline. Your landline telecom company, they know exactly where that call is going, right, because it's going to a fixed location. So it routes pretty quickly. Whereas when we send a call to a cell phone, right, the cell phone provider has to find you every time first, and then they send the call to you. That delay is why you may need to change your ring time up to 45 seconds, just to give your cell phone users enough time to actually answer the call. Right, what may happen if you have it at 20 seconds or less is, right, the phone will ring once, right? So your user is just reaching for their phone, and then it just stops, and then they have like, hey, I missed a call, right? Or they may just get missed call notifications because it didn't even ring, depending on how busy call traffic is where they are at. All right, next you got the main extension number, and then the privacy, which is just default, is fine. Extensions, users can have multiple extensions if you want them to. The main use case I've encountered is actually the head of our sales department. Whenever a salesperson leaves the company, he just immediately takes over their extensions, so that way any calls comes in, he can get them and route them. But more importantly, any voicemails that may be there, he can then take care of to make sure we're not losing an opportunity. Users can have phone numbers, right? So calls can go directly to the user, bypasses the virtual receptionist. And then you can add devices directly to a user, right? So you can either add from spare devices, meaning you added a bunch of devices and now you're assigning it to them, or you can just assign a new device directly to the person. User features. All right, so caller ID number, this only comes into play with a user that has their own phone number, but when you turn it on, then their outbound caller ID becomes their phone number, right? So for like your salespeople, for example, they would want their phone number to show up, so that way when they're calling a lead, that lead calls them back, it goes right to them instead of to one of the other sales reps. Call forwarding, you can set up call forwarding for a user, right? You have off, on, or failover mode. Now, your users can set up call forwarding themselves, right? They can do this during the user portal, or if they're a VoIP phone user, they can use feature codes to set that up. But basically, it's you choose a device, right? Desk phone or mobile. You put the +1 area coded number, click on Save Changes. Now, the forwarding device should not be a device that's already on the user, right? It's the phone they only use occasionally versus their everyday phone. Now, failover mode for your VoIP phone users, when the system detects that their phone goes unregistered and a call happens to come into that user, so in this case to Bob, when his VoIP phone is unregistered in failover mode, then the system will automatically send the call to the forwarded device. Right? So a way for the user to know suddenly, hey, why didn't it ring on my VoIP phone? So after they're done with the call, they can double check their internet connection, or see if when the dog ran by, if it had ripped out, the Ethernet cable. Hot desking is another VoIP device or VoIP feature. When you enable it, you create a hot desk ID. What this is for is in a shared office environment where people may be switching desks from day to day, or like people who only come into the office once a week, and so they sit at whatever a desk is available at that time, right? And they still want to get their calls. So today is Wednesday. Days are kind of bleeding into each other. But I sit down at desk number 7 on Wednesday. I pick up the VoIP phone there. I hit *11 on the VoIP phone. Right? That's the feature code to turn on hot desking. I enter in the hot desk ID. I normally recommend just making it people with extension numbers. And then the PIN number if my admin requires that. But once I've done that, this system tells me my calls will now be sent to this device. So then I go about my workday, and any calls to my user will ring on that phone that I'm sitting in front of. The end of my day, I hit *12. That turns off hot desking. I go home, have hopefully a good night. Come back the next day, someone's already at desk 7. I'm like, oh, well, that's kind of a bummer. But hey, desk 23 is open, and it's a window seat, right? So I go over there, again, go to the phone, I hit *11, enter my hot desk ID, and now calls are ringing at desk 23. Voicemail box, again, that's the one that was created at the time the user was. Fax box, so users can have their own individual fax boxes, so they can receive a fax. You can assign a number. You can also, either select a spare or buy a new number. You can also assign an extension. Now, I don't normally recommend assigning an extension, but what this does is you have to instruct the person who's faxing to you to call your main number that goes to a virtual receptionist, right? And then at the greeting, they enter in the fax extension, right? So you enter the fax extension and you hit select extension, and then they hit send fax on their fax machine. That might be problematic for some people because some people might go to autopilot when they go to a fax machine. It's here's the number, hit send fax, and then they walk off and go get coffee. All right, conference bridge. You click to enable. It tells you the conference phone numbers. Your personal conference room number, again, defaults to your extension number, and then your personal conference room PIN number. Again, users can change this via the user portal. You're just setting it up so they have conferencing available to them. Going to switch down here to more devices. Now, follow me. Very good for users with multiple devices. Now, when you first enable follow me, this is what it looks like. So you have your devices here, but they all are do not ring, right? The system's saying, hey, how do you want to do this? So you select the devices you want to be working. You notice it started here at 0. Up here, again, you get your total ring time. Again, you can change that. And then you can click distribute. Right? If I say, oh, wait, I want the cell phone to be involved, I can click distribute again. But wait, oh, I don't want it to be my first device. I want it to be my last device. Right? So just like in ring groups, right? You can change the order and adjust it. You can also make it blast ringing to hit all your devices at once. Music on hold, if you enable this, you can do custom music on hold for each of your users, right? You can upload a .wav or .mp3 file recorded in mono under 1 megabyte. Find the file, click on the little browse icon, and that will supersede the music on hold you handled on the dashboard. Customized call recording. So when you enable it, what it actually looks like is this. So you're not actually recording everything. So when you first enable it, you need to decide which of these 4 types of calls you want recorded. So inbound internal means coworker Bob gave me a call. Right? Inbound external means customer Mary gave me a call. Right? Outbound internal means I called coworker Don to see what was going on with the fantasy football team. Whereas outbound external, I'm calling customer Michael to let him know, hey, his order shipped. Right? And then you click on Save Changes so that those calls will get recorded. And then Do Not Disturb, that's an admin feature where basically you're saying, hey, this person's out of the office, just send calls to voicemail. All right, voicemail boxes shows all your voicemail boxes on the account. Right? Any of them that were created with the user will have their username shown up here on the right. If you need to create a voicemail box, that's up here at the top. You give it a name, a voicemail box number, and a PIN number. And then you would click Create New Voicemail Box. You click on the little wrench icon here. If you go to Advanced, so greeting media, these are the options on all voicemail boxes. So the media, this is your default greeting, right? This is the one that plays like 95% of the year. The temporary file, if you select something here, this will supersede the media file. But then this temporary file is like for the vacation voicemail message, right? Hey, I'm out of the office from here to here, blah, blah, blah. When the person comes back as an admin, you would just set this back to none, and then the normal media file plays. Again, you can upload .wav, .mp3, recorded in mono under 1 megabyte for both of these kinds of files. Recipients. So on a user's voicemail box, they automatically have one recipient, right? Because you have an email address associated with them already. So on a user's voicemail box, this would be in addition to that user's email. For a manually created voicemail box, you would want to put something here so someone knows that, hey, this voicemail box got a voicemail message. And you would create a manually voicemail box for, say, like your ring groups or for your queues. All right, so once you've added recipients and a media file, you can go Options. Just make sure you have this checked here for Already Set Up. And you can take a look here at the other options. So this one here, delete after notification. So by default, when the system gets a voicemail, it emails the user, for example, or the recipients on a manually created voicemail box, right? They get an email, and in that email is an attachment with the voicemail message. So when you have delete after notification, after that email gets sent, the system deletes the voicemail from the system. The reason for that is voicemail boxes are restricted to 100 messages, and once you get to 100, it says the person leaving a message gets, hey, this voicemail box is full, please try again later, right? So if you're already sending out the notifications, then there's no reason to keep it in your voicemail box that might get full. Now, if you have staff members who prefer to be able to call into over their phone to listen to their messages, or they want to use a user portal, then you could uncheck this so that way the emails will stay in the system. Attach messages to voicemail, right? So if you uncheck this, then they're just going to get an email saying, hey, you got a voicemail, and then they have to go in and check, right? So it's often that I've seen that they have both of these unchecked. Transcribe messages, this is new, as in a couple weeks. But basically, you can get voicemail transcribed into text. But any changes, go ahead and click on Save Changes. Advanced routing. This mostly shows up for our migrated customers, right? So if you were on vConsole, you will have this by default. Assuming it loads. Or maybe it doesn't want to load today. Wow. So if you ever run into this where this seems to be stuck on loading, just click on the hamburger icon here, and then click on Dashboard. It looks like I was impatient since it was just loading there. Not sure why it was taking so long. It's a little odd. So advanced routing for your migrated customers, you can see headings here for auto route and select route. And then you also have direct inward system access. So for our migrated customers on vConsole, you're able to dial into your system, press the pound key to log in over the phone, and then you can make an outbound call. So for that kind of functionality, you would enable direct inward system access. You would edit the settings here, and by default, you want to add a PIN number, and then click on Save Changes. So now, when you call into your main number that goes to the virtual receptionist, your staff members from a cell phone or landline, right, can enter this extension number, and then this PIN number. They will then get dial tone, and then they can enter in an area code phone number and make an outbound call. And the caller ID that shows up on the person who's receiving that call will be the main company number under the dashboard. Now, for new customers, this is not enabled by default just because it's a potential fraud vector, right? If someone's able to figure out the PIN number and the extension number, they can make outbound calls on your account and you may not notice it right away. All right, call logs. This shows your call details that have come in and out of the system. You can click on a particular call record to get an idea of what happened. If it actually went to a user, you will see their device, what devices it rang to. Again, this being a test account, there may not be a lot of actual legitimate calls. This little fire hydrant icon here allows you to report a call. This will create an email. It will have the technical details of the call. It's best if in the body of that email you include what you experienced, like say, my phone didn't ring, or this call, the customer said, it just rang and rang, it never got to anybody, right? So then we can try to take a look and see what was going on. You can also download your call logs. You can do custom date range, but this download is a CSV file. Feature codes. I've already mentioned a couple of these. These are basically shortcuts on your VoIP phones you can use to access various features. Unfortunately, I can't scroll down, so I can't show them all to you. But these you can also get on our website under the support pages. Okay, let's go over here. ACD queues. Again, ACD stands for automatic call distribution. These are the standard queues. These range from $15 to $30 per month, depending on your plan. There's also ACD queues Pro, which are $99 per month, depending on the plan, I believe. I'm not sure why it's behaving this way. You can click on Add a New Queue. I'm just going to go ahead and click on the little gear icon on an existing queue. All right, so first you got the details. You can give it a name, and then either a call-in number or an extension, right, one or the other, right, whereas groups can have both. And then you've got the routing strategy. So here I've got most idle. That means whoever of my staff members has been waiting the longest for a call gets the next call that comes in. You have the option for ring all, which means it rings everybody, all my staff members at once. You have round robin, which will equalize over time, right? So everyone, it's more balanced, try to be more balanced. Then you've got least offered, right? So whoever has the least amount of offered calls gets the next call. So we'll say Bob has had 20 calls, Mary has had 20, or Bob has had 20 calls offered to him, Mary's had 5. Under least offers, Mary gets the next call that comes in. Now, the other option is least calls. This is the least amount of connected calls. So say in that scenario, well, Bob's been offered 20, but he's only spoken to 2 people. Mary's been offered 5, but she's spoken to all 5 of her calls. Under least calls, the next call that comes in, it's going to Bob, right, until he gets up to 5. Or when someone else lines in, it has less calls. All right, hold treatment. You can upload a music file, right, .wav, .mp3, etc. Now on ACD Queues Pro, the hold treatment is much more granular. You can do things like announce position, announce expected wait time. You can do multiple music files, like in between those, so you can have many stages of your hold treatment. Queue timeout, measured in seconds, basically how much time an inbound caller can wait on hold. The queue call limit, this is the number of people who can be waiting on in the queue, right? So how many callers are coming into the queue. Oh, also under ACD Queues Pro, under hold treatment, you can also set an option for like pressing 0 and then send that caller to, say, a voicemail box. Let's forget about that one. Okay, so timeout immediately empty. So if you have no staff members logged in and this is enabled, then you're treating any inbound call as if they already hit this 3,600 second time limit. Escalation queue, you can send calls to a second queue. So like all your staff members are busy, for example, calls would then, after they hit the timeout, they would go, actually if they're all busy, they would go to the second queue. And then escalation call flow after timeout. So after that 3,600 seconds is reached, they'll go to this voicemail box. Now, if a caller first comes into this queue and then say goes to my escalation queue, this timer is still in play. So when that hits 3,600 seconds, it still sends them to this voicemail box, even if they were in the escalation queue. Agent behavior. So agent recovery time, recovery timer. So basically, after an agent is done with a call, this is how much time the system waits before it offers them a second call. This is really typically, for most customers, 15 to 30 seconds. 300 is very long. Force away on reject or miss. If this is enabled, then if an agent misses a call, the system will automatically put them in away mode, and they have to mark themselves as ready before they get a second call. And then agent connect timeout. This is how much time we try to send the call to that user's devices. And again, on queues, right, agents can only receive calls on VoIP phones. So soft phone, SIP phone, or the web phone. All right, over here is the members icon. If you click on that, you can see these are the people who are in your queues. If you click on manage members, over here on the left, these are people who are not yet in your queue. On the right, these are the people who are available to be in your queues. right? So if you needed to add someone, you would click on their name and click on Add as Member. In fact, let's take Denard here, and we can add him. And then you see he's here. And likewise, if you want to remove someone, you would click on their name and remove. Now, if we click back to the queues, you can look at your queue status here. You can see, oh, wait, there's no one logged in. I have 2 people assigned to it. I can add additional agents, right? That's going to be from that total queue list. And then if you add a manager has to already be a member of the agent list of the queues, right? So only these 2 people are in the queue, so I can move them to be a manager if I want them to be. Now, for your staff members, if they use the website, they can log in, and then they would click on ACD queues as well, and then they click on Begin Session. That logs them in. And you notice here, I'm in this queue now. There you go. Now you see I'm red because I'm still away. I can mark myself as ready. And now I'm green, meaning, hey, I'm ready to take a call. Now, you may not have noticed it, but on the feature codes page from a VoIP phone, your staff members can hit *20 and then hit send on the phone. That will log them in. And then *21 will make themselves ready. *22 marks them away, and then *23 logs them out. Likewise, this little phone icon here, I can select which of my VoIP devices to use, or just select all so it'll ring them all. And then at the end of my day, so if I go to lunch, right, I can mark myself away, or at the end of my day, I can log myself out. Pro queues also have a performance section right in between here, so you can compare 2 different agents to see their call statistics, etc. The other thing that Pro queues have, at least as a manager function, is you can see activity logs, so you can see when a call came into the queue, who it was offered to, and that, as well as when people logged in or made themselves ready. Next up, we got blacklists. For our vConsole customers, this would replace part of AutoRoute, right? So AutoRoute, one of the main things you could do was block a number from reaching your system. That's what blacklist is for, specifically. So if you click Edit Blacklist, you can add a new list, right? If you don't have any, if you already have an existing list, you can edit that list. So if you're creating a new list, right, you give it a name. You can choose to block anonymous, meaning if we don't get valid inbound caller ID, we'll block the call, right? So we have to have valid caller ID to get through. And then here you would add a number, +1 area code and phone number, right? So that specific phone number will not be able to reach the system. So then you click on Save. You go back to Settings, and then you want to make sure your list is over here under the right where it says Selected, and then you would click Update. So now any phone numbers on these lists, as well as the block anonymous, since I have that on that list here, when they try to call in, they just get a busy signal, right? So they're not getting through to my system. They're not wasting my time for myself or my staff members. Faxes, any admin can get to any fax box on the account, so they can see the inbound or outbound faxes. And this is a test account, so there's nothing really to see. You can also see the email to fax logs. So you can see here, someone tried to fax out using this setup here. I got this little eyeball icon, and it tells me, hey, this person, it does not exist on the account. That's why they couldn't fax out. All right, next up. Monitor is typically not enabled on most accounts. That's actually going to be replaced from what I understand. But quick rundown, basically allows you to see what your staff is doing. Green means they're waiting for a call. Blue means they're on inbound. Red means they're marked away. Yellow, they're on external call. Gold, they're on recovery time. Number manager is new. I don't believe that's really active, so I'm going to skip that. Recording manager, this takes you to the recording page, which is just recordings.virtualpbx.com. Uses your Dash login. It allows you to view your call recordings. You can also download them. That's hosted by AWS. Unlike in the console on Dash, it does not automatically delete your recordings after 14 days. Right? It will stay on your recording manager until you delete them. You do have a storage limit. Usually it's 1 gigabyte or 2. And then you can obviously delete, so that way you don't go over that limit. Reports is currently in beta. This is advanced call recording. So the call logs that I showed earlier are very basic, right? This basically kind of shows you, hey, the call came in, here's where it went. Reports allows you to create your own report, so you can see like who's getting calls, or what kind of do more comparisons, who's been logging in and out, that sort of thing. User portal. Every user has their own user portal. One thing about the reports, if you're interested in that, just send a message over to our account services team, and they can see about getting that to you. So user portal, all right, shows your, if you don't have delete after notification enabled, then you'll have your voicemail show up here, give you the status, right? The date that the voicemail came in and the time, the phone number it came from, the number it went to, the duration. You've got the playback icon here, and you can also download the voicemail. If you click on the box in front, then you can say, hey, this is new, unused, or unread. But you also have keep it marked as new, mark as listened, or then mark for deletion. And then later on, it will get deleted. Call history, you'll see the call history on this user. Faxes, you'll see their fax box history, but this user doesn't have one. The contact list, this is everything within your Dash account, right? So all the users, the ring groups, the queues, etc., and how you would go about trying to connect to them. Well, some of those are definitely odd. This is not something you can edit here, right? So like your salespeople could not put in their client list into this contact list. This is only within your Dash account. Conference, right? So this is how your users manage their conferences. They can invite other Dash users to the conference. They can lock a conference. They can mute everybody. They can unmute everybody. They can end the conference. When they're actually in a conference, they can actually mute a specific participant as well as kick a specific participant. Over here on the right, they can change their PIN numbers, right? So the moderator PIN is whoever's in charge of the conference, whereas your participant PINs, these are your guests, right? And then you got these options here for, was it muting people or having them deaf when they join in, as well as entry and exit tones. Under settings and devices is where your users can set up their own call forwarding, and they can set the phone number and then click on save, and also see the status of their devices. Voicemails, again, any admin, you can get to any voicemail box. So like if you need to clear them out, right, you've got the options here. You can listen to it, you can download it, etc. And then webhooks, this allows you to link Dash to other software using APIs. If you're interested in this, you're going to want to contact our sales team. They have additional information and probably some qualification kind of questions. You can also see sample codes at developer.virtualpbx.com. You can see some of the things that we have been able to do with the webhooks. All right, I'm going to go back to the dashboard. I haven't seen any questions pop up via chat, so I'm going to hang out here for a minute or so to see if anyone does have any questions. But if you don't, feel free to go about your day. But as I said, I'll wait here for another minute or so, just in case people have questions. still not seeing any questions, so I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. I thank you for your time today, and I hope you have a wonderful day.